Well, I'm calling the Waterloo Board of Adjustment regular meeting to order. And today we're going to take a minute and introduce ourselves because we have new members and a change of command. So how about if you start, Craig?
All right, I'm Craig Holdeman. I've been on the board this time for a year, I think. But I have served on the Board of Adjustment and on Planning and Zoning off and on for a number of years.
All right, John?
John Dornoff with the City of Waterloo Planning Department.
And Chris, our newest member, please.
I'm Chris. I recently moved to the state a little under 2 years ago, and wanted to find a way to get involved. Got a background in working on some historic construction, renovation, that kind of stuff, and owning rental properties, and thought this would be a good way to get involved.
Thank you. John?
Hi, John Beckman. I've been with the board now. This is, I'm thinking in my start of my second term. So it's been quite an honor.
Yes. And Carol Gustafson is absent tonight, but she's served on the board for a couple years as well. And I'm Jerry Thornsberry, and I've been on the board as long as John has. And I also serve as a Soil and Water Commissioner for Black Hawk County. And so it is an honor to serve on this commission. And welcome to all of you. Today we have 6 decision items that we will handle tonight, and we have an agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda of January 23rd as presented?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And we have approval of our November 28th, 2023 minutes. Last time we met, are there any adjustments to those minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, we will take our first decision item. It is a request by Mr. Carter for a variance to allow for a metal carport in the required front yard in the R1, 1 and 2 family residence district located at 2540 Burton Avenue. May I have the staff report, please?
This is Dornoff with staff. The applicants were previously approved for a variance to have a metal carport, but it was approved with a condition that when the carport's located in the front yard be moved out of the front yard by January 1st, 2023, and be modified to be enclosed on all 4 sides. There is also a requirement to remove the second carport structure, which has been removed. The applicant moved the approved structure, but due to the location of Mid-American utility lines, it could not be moved further back out of the front yard and is still located within the required front yard. And the applicant's requesting a variance to allow for the structure in the front yard, but has indicated that it still plans to enclose it in all 4 sides. The property is located at 2540 Burton Avenue and zoned R1, 1 and 2 family residence district, having zoned as such since being rezoned from M1 Light Industrial District to and M2 Planned Industrial District on July 16, 2001. The request to have a metal frame carport in the front yard could have a negative impact on the area, as it could open the door for other properties in the area to ask for similar approvals. However, the location is no longer directly in front of the home and across the driveway, in front of the metal pole building that was approved for variance size and siding on July 26, 2022. The building is on a lot that's over 12 acres in the fringed community in an area with limited adjacent residential properties and is limited view because of the large number of trees on the property. The request, accessory structures are prohibited in front yard. The applicant previously requested a variance to allow for a metal carport in the required front yard, which was not approved. The applicant was willing to move the carport out of the front yard and place it in the south side of the driveway. Also, a wall and garage door on the remaining open side was proposed. As noted, the applicant did move the building south of the house on the other side of the driveway, but it was not moved further east to get it out of the front yard because of the location of underground Mid-American utilities, and is still only enclosed on 3 sides, but the applicant has indicated the intent to close it on the 4th side. The property in question is located to the east of Burton Avenue, to the south of Daniel Drive, which serves as an industrial park. The area is in question is approximately 12.46 acres in total. The surrounding properties are primarily vacant land zoned for industrial and agricultural uses with a few residences. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return. The property is used for residential purposes, and the structure could be moved to another location on the property that is not in the front yard and could have a wall and garage installed on the remaining open side. Uniqueness: there would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the parcels to the north and east are vacant, and the properties to the north are zoned industrial uses. However, the property is a residence, as are other properties to the west and south. The structure, although still in the required front yard, is no longer directly in front of the home and is in front of a metal pole building with similar siding and material, and was limited visibility due to the number of trees on the large property. Public consideration: approval of variance could have a negative impact on the surrounding area by potentially allowing other properties in the area to request similar variances, but based on the approved metal pole building, the structure would not appear to be out of character with the area. Therefore, staff recommends a variance to allow for a metal carport in the front yard in the R1, 1, and 2 family residence district located 2540 Burton Avenue be approved for the following reasons. The request would not appear to be there would appear to be unique as the parcels to the north and to the east are vacant and properties to the north are zoned for industrial uses. The structure, although still in the required front yard, is no longer directly in front of the home and is in front of a metal pole building with similar siding material and has limited visibility due to the number of trees on the property. 2, the structure would not appear to be out of character with the area, and staff has not heard any opposition to the request, but subject to the following conditions: that the carport be modified to enclosed on all 4 sides by June 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Just one correction to what you said. In the general description, we allowed the modification from June 1, not January 1. Misspoke, but just for the record. All right, any questions for staff? I have one. The suggestion on subject to the following conditions, enclosed on all 4 sides, and what about the door?
Well, the one side would be the door. So,
Oh.
Yep.
It would?
Yep. One side has to be a door if they're using it as a carport.
Oh, I guess so. Oh, dear. All right. Any questions of Mr. Carter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Carter, would you come to the podium, please?
Maybe I can address first. I'm their attorney, Thomas
Okay.
Verholst. I'm with the Beecher Law Firm. And I'm also I'm very familiar with your position as I'm the chairperson of the Board of Adjustment for the City of Dyke.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I've been on your side of the table as well. I've got, if I may, I don't know if I can provide these photographs. That just might be helpful to you as far as understanding the issue. I think the city has, city development has laid it out very well, but you will see the top photograph on this shows the carport where it is currently located. And the intent was, of course, that the carport was to be moved entirely out of the front yard. But unfortunately, as you see the flags there, there is optic fibers, there is a gas line, and there is a cable line there that prevents it from being completely off the front yard. There's probably just a lap over of maybe 3 to 4 feet into that front yard because they cannot go onto that Mid-American line and the optic fiber line. So we're talking about 3 or 4 feet. They aren't intending to move it any further, but it just crosses that front yard line by just a couple of feet. And you will see the door that you're talking about, the opening, that will be closed by June 1st. Mr. Carter is obtaining bids so that can be closed, so that will be taken care of as well. The second page of the photographs, really, I think you've already had them up on the screen, so I don't need to really comment on that again. But the Carters were intending all along to follow through with what the board required last time as far as the variance that was granted. The problem is that we had the gas line that came into play that prevented them from making it completely off the front yard. Given the location of the property, the trees, and the fact that we're not in a very highly dense area of, as far as neighbors and that type of thing, we would hope that this board would grant this variance to allow this small adjustment where just a portion of this carport extends into the front yard. If you have questions of me or Mr. Carter, we're obviously willing to answer any questions you have, but basically I think the city development person, I can't remember your name again, but you did a nice job as far as clarifying how the Carters feel about this. They are in complete agreement with what has been said.
Great, thank you.
Any questions of any of me or Mr. Carter?
Mr. Carter, please.
Okay, Mr. Carter, if you'd go up.
Mr. Carter, when it came time to move this carport, you had a contractor involved, correct?
Yes, I did.
And during the course of that, you and/or your contractor discovered these Mid-America utility lines, correct?
Yeah, we did.
When you discovered that, did you reach out to planning and zoning and bring that to their attention?
Well, I was paying the guys $500 an hour, and I had to make the decision, and I was.
No, the question was, did you contact planning and zoning?
No, I didn't. I didn't because I was on a schedule. I was on my contractor's schedule,
Okay.
and
But once
that
you
was the only
discovered,
time that he could get to me.
once you discovered the problem,
Yeah.
you did not reach out to planning and zoning
No, I didn't.
to try to work with the city to come up with an alternate solution to the location of the carport. That's correct?
I felt that paying $500 an hour, and I didn't have that much time, that if I call you up and ask you about it, I had to go to another meeting, and I couldn't afford to let the contractor go home because he had other things to do.
So you made the decision, not the city, you made the decision to put the carport where it presently sits.
Well, I don't think I could put it on top of the flag, so it's the contractor's decision whether to set it on top of the flags or, and I mean, everybody got rules. And,
Did it
you know,
occur
you're
to
supposed
you to
follow
reach
those
out?
rules. Yeah, but
Did it occur to you to reach out to the city to see if there was an alternate to what was agreed upon by this board?
no, I didn't.
Okay. That's all for now.
Quick question too. How much of the carport actually sits beyond the front of the house?
Well, in front of the house, I said, well,
Well, I mean,
I
does it,
tore out some of the cement. Because in order to put the carport up on the land, on the part where you wanted it at, we had to cut out some of the cement because it's on like a lean for water to run down. So I had to tear out part of it. While we was turning, and I came closest to the flags as I could. Because when you got flags, you gotta when they gotta dig, you gotta leave them room, backhoe room to get down in the ground and find the, whatever you're looking for.
no, I guess what I'm saying is, how much, if you take a line across your property from the front of your house, how much of the carport sits towards the street from that line?
Well, I didn't measure it, so.
Is it is it the whole thing or is it just
No,
part
it's
of
not the whole thing. I cut some of the cement, like I said, I cut some of the cement out
Yeah.
that was on that pad there. And I think I cut about 4 or 5 feet, 4 or 5 feet.
Okay,
And I cut that out, and then we leveled the land off.
okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you.
I have some
For us?
comments.
Okay, please. Mr. Beckman.
I would like to go back in time and just review some of what has taken place up to this point. During the July 26, 2022 board meeting, this matter came to our attention. At that time, the city was denying Mr. Carter's request to have the carport in the front yard. They also denied the vertical siding on the new structure and also denied having the two carports on the property at all. Eventually, the vertical siding was approved for the new structure, but the city's position was the carports were still in violation. On page 4 of the minutes from that meeting, Mr. Carter stated that he was told that the carports were not allowed, but he put them up anyway. On page 5 of those minutes, Mr. Carter stated that he will not get rid of the carports. On page 7 of those minutes, Mr. Carter agrees to work with the city and try to get the carport situation worked out. Not in the minutes, but most likely on the audio and video recording of that meeting, Mr. Carter stated that it's his property and he can do whatever he wants to with it. At that point, the carport matter was tabled and moved to the next month. During the August 23rd, 2022 meeting, staff was still recommending denial of the carport request. On page 3 of those minutes, I reminded the board that on May 24th, 2022, the board required Gary Miller of 206 Bishop Avenue to remove a carport that he had on his property. On page 4 of those minutes, the majority of the board voted to approve one carport and that it be moved out of the required front yard and enclosed on all 4 sides. The intent was to move the carport to the south and then the east, so it would be out of the required front yard. As it turns out, Mr. Carter has only moved the carport to the south side of the driveway. It was not moved back to the east as required, and it has yet to be enclosed on all 4 sides. I guess during the initial meeting on July 26th, I just had a feeling that this wasn't going to end well, and it has kind of played out that way. And I'm very, very concerned about the statements that Mr. Carter made. In particular, this is my property, I'll do whatever I want to on it. So, here we are.
Thank you. Does staff have some input to Mr. Beckman's comments?
Pretty much he read it from the minutes, so.
Yeah, so as documented.
Yep.
Sir, yes, please.
I have a question for one of you two. Okay. Why couldn't you move the carport further east to the other side of the easement?
The easement? I'm not sure where the easement is.
Well, he was talking about the easement that looking at the flags for utilities.
Well, there's not an easement, it's just
Oh,
where they're
it's
located.
just where their service line is?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, then couldn't he put it on the other side of that?
I suppose that's a possibility, but what we're talking about here is we're talking a couple of feet. As you asked Mr. Carter about the line and where it was in the front yard, there's that picture, I think, that was shown there where there's the line that runs that front yard. And you can see where the X, where the carport is supposed to be or move to. And what has happened is just about 5 feet of that is beyond that front yard line because of the flags for the Mid-American Energy, those types of things. So it's not, the whole thing is not in the front yard. It's just about 5 feet is extended beyond that line, and it's on the, and you see on the other side of that driveway. So we're not talking where it is completely in that front yard where it was before, where it was originally, as you can see. It's not in front of the house anymore, it's on the other side of the driveway, and it's extending a little bit over, like I said, 4 to 5 feet, which I think is the question that you raised.
Yes.
And so that's what we're talking about here, is that part of, we're not talking, everything is in the front yard again. And I understand Mr. Beckman's concerns. Obviously, there must have been some contentious, but I will say this, I think if you look on the other side of the fact, is that Mr. Carter was told to remove the one carport. He has done so. He was told to move the carport. He did do so. It just, because of that 5 feet, it extended beyond it. So even though he may have said words that, hey, this is my property, I'm going to do what you have, I understand. I'd be a little offended by that too, and it's not right. But in the end, he has ultimately followed through and done it. Whether he should have talked to the city first, he didn't do so, but he's here now with it extending a little bit, 4 to 5, like I said, 4 to 5 feet. And so the question becomes, are we going to make him move it again? Or is this reasonable to allow this? The city says it's reasonable as far as the variance. We're not talking a big significant difference anymore. And so I appreciate where you're coming from. But at the same time, despite all those words, in the end, Mr. Carter has followed through with everything. Whether he should have talked to the city first before when this issue came up with Mid-American, yeah, it's hindsight, maybe he should have. But in the end, this is where we're presented with, and we're asking that this be allowed to continue. And again, he's, like I said, the front doorway is supposed to be enclosed, and he will have that done by June 1st of 2024. So he has said that, even though in the past he has, resisted and fought it, he's admitting that he's going to do that. So we ask that you look at it from a practical standpoint of what's been done, not what's been said in the past, and whether this is reasonable as far as the variance. Thank you.
Sir,
Sir,
come back for just a moment. No,
just a moment.
the attorney.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Do you have a question for me?
Just a comment.
Sure.
Mr. Carty was keenly aware of how contentious an item this was. We had 2 meetings to deal with it. It still very much bothers me, knowing how contentious it was, that when he discovered that problem with the Mid-America utilities, that he did not reach to the city and ask for some assistance. And again, and here we are.
And I understand what you're saying, and
Okay.
it's a question of whether we can get beyond that and look at what's been done and whether we can agree with that. So I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Bozen, did you want to address the? Yes, I do. Thank you. State your name and address, please.
Dave Boson, 3203 Marigold, Waterloo. I think the board needs to be also aware that the deadline for moving that carport, well, first of all, carports by code aren't allowed in the city of Waterloo. Secondly, the deadline for moving that was June 1st of 2023. And it wasn't until late this fall that code enforcement had to get involved to get this carport moved to the location it's at today. I don't know if there was ever any intention to move it if code enforcement wouldn't gotten involved, because the deadline was June 1st of 23 that it was supposed to have already been moved. And we were pushing November, and now it's January 23rd of 24. And we're 7 months past the deadline when it was supposed to be moved, and it was just most recently moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Okay. Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion on this decision item.
Madam Chair, I have two motions. We'll do one at a time.
Yes, please.
I make a motion to deny the request by Lewis Carter for a variance to allow for a metal carport in the required front yard in the R1, 1 and 2 Family Residence District located at 2540 Burton Avenue for the following reasons. Number one, Mr. Carter has not complied with the directives as this board provided during the August 23rd, 2022 meeting. And number two, the carport is illegal by city code.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion to approve has been denied. Second motion.
No need for the
No
second
need.
motion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carter, the motion was to deny that you keep that carport in the front yard according to city code, and so it must be moved.
Are we gonna put a timeline on when it must be moved?
Well, you didn't.
We did not. That's an excellent point. How about
Excuse me.
June 1st?
Did anybody consider how much it cost us and how busy it was this summer trying to get people to do that? It's a costly project, and we did poured out, we never said we wasn't gonna remove that. It cost us so much money, and everybody was busy doing something with somebody else. People was making condos, they was making street. We could barely get anybody to do anything. Everybody was full. That's why we was late. It's not because we tried to be. It's because everybody was doing something for somebody else. Everybody was busy in a busy schedule. And then me and Lewis and some more people, we searched the planning and zoning rules. There's not a single thing that says all the rules, they don't have any kind of rules for R1 with more than 10 acres. And they just act like, we're just a typical, it's not a typical yard. It's not a typical R1, an acre or less. And we got over 10 acres, and there's not any rules whatsoever regarding more than 10 acres. We don't have, I talked to Nia Wilder. She came out and she said, you don't have any neighbors. We don't have any neighbors. And then I talked to Maria Downing. She said, when she came out, she said, the first thing she said, you don't have any neighbors. The thing is, the reason why it took so long is because it cost so much. We had to get excavators. We had to move the dirt from here to there. We had to dig up one patch of cement, which cost $10,000. And then we had to, it was just tragic. I mean, if somebody if they had some kind of rules where if you don't, I'm not sure about the location of where you're supposed to move it, or the size, or the colors of some object, whatever, that we'll send somebody out to verify that you're doing okay. Like, we wanted to feel welcome and that people was willing to help people, not just trying to, torment people and make people spend oodles of money for nothing. I mean, what kind of help is that for a citizen? We're supposed to be here to help each other, not trying to torment people and put pressure on people. And everybody was, all the contractors we asked for, we even asked him. He was 2 or 3 weeks late, and so we had to get somebody else. All the contractors was filled. The cement people was filled. Everybody was doing, because I will only have 4 or 5 months to work with cement and excavation. We don't hardly have time, and everybody in the whole Waterloo that had to do that kind of work. We had to go on the back burner to wait for them.
Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Sir?
We should put a time limit on that, so how do you feel about July 1st?
I don't understand
of this year?
I don't understand, where's the help?
Reasonable or not?
From
Go. I'm asking a question.
How about September 1st? I'll give
for
them,
summer construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think September's reasonable. She's
September
just
1st,
expressed a
what is supposed to
concern
happen
with the
September
timing
1st?
of
Excuse me,
things.
we're collaborating. Yes, sir?
So let me add to my motion that the other caveat is that this carport be moved out of the front yard by ordinance by September 1st, 2024.
second.
I got one more thing.
Hold
to
on.
say.
Hold on.
You're good enough.
We need to cut this short.
Yeah, carport moved out of front yard.
And where is the location supposed to be now?
according
Did it?
to ordinance by September 1, 2024. Let me repeat the motion, that the motion is to deny the carport to be allowed in the front yard of 2540 Burton Avenue because, one, it was not, the directive of the August 23 meeting was not complied with. 2, the carport is illegal by ordinance. And 3, the carport now must be moved out of the front yard by September 1st, 2024.
Move out, and where are we supposed to move it to?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. Is it, and you moved,
He
you
seconded.
seconded, and all those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Where are we supposed to move it to? I don't understand. I don't understand. I want to understand what you're talking about.
You can work with planning and zoning, with the engineering, and they can figure that out. It's got to be out of the front yard. The directive was to move it south and then east.
So we have to move it on the other side of the flags, of the Mid-American flags? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, it would
Yes.
have to be
Yes.
the other side
So
of
you
the
have to move it
utilities.
on the other side of the Mid-American flags,
Correct.
further, further
Further
toward the
east.
back.
Further east.
Can I move it on top of the flag? I don't care.
No, would you please be quiet, please? So
All right.
we'll have to move, in other words, we have to move it
We're
about
not
20
going
or
to,
30 feet over.
excuse me, Mrs.
What?
Carter, we are not going to design what's next with you here.
Mm-hmm.
The decision has been made, and please check in with the planning and zoning to figure out an alternative.
Get an exact location, because I don't want to spend any more money. I really don't. I mean,
All right, thank you.
how are we supposed to get an appointment with them?
You can,
Okay.
John?
But our staff is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Who was talking?
Mr. Dornoff.
What you say now?
Our staff is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
And
There's
who should
always
we ask for?
anybody, any of our staff will be willing to help you.
Like Eric?
For
Schroeder?
Eric or, yeah, any of us can help you, assist you.
Okay, thank you. All right, decision item number 2. Hang on. All right. Is a request by Rapids Reproductions on behalf of Heart and Solutions for a variance to the sign ordinance requiring only one post, pole, or monument sign to allow for a second post sign in addition to a monument sign in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial District located at 227 East San Mornan Drive. Staff report, please.
This is Dorn for staff. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow for an installation of a second post sign in addition to existing monument sign. The 18,687 square foot property is located along San Martin Frontage Road. The site is question zone C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, zone as such since the adoption of zoning ordinance 2479 in 1969. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhoods surrounding the area. Section of the zoning ordinance pertaining to this request, Chapter 26, outdoor advertising, signs and billboards, 1026-1, C8-B, one freestanding post, pole, or monument sign. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a post sign in addition to existing monument sign. located facing the San Martin frontage road. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return as the property already has an existing monument sign. Uniqueness: there would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the existing monument sign is small and would be difficult to add additional information to that sign. 3, there's public considerations. There has been no objections to the request. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Rapid Reproductions on behalf of Hardin Solutions for a variance to the sign ordinance allowing one post, pole, or monument sign to allow for a second post sign in addition to a monument sign in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial District located at 227 East San Martin Drive be approved for the following reason. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area and in fact would improve the appearance of the area. The request would not appear to be unique. The request would appear to be unique as the existing monument sign is small and it would be difficult to add additional information to that sign. There have been no objections to the request. And follow up, I talked to Mr. Beckman yesterday and noted that the property owner called me on Friday and apparently did not know about this about this proposal. I talked to her again today, and apparently there was some confusion that apparently her son's was responsible for the leasing and stuff and approved the monument sign, and they said they would be. I went over with the owner what the sign size is, and she said her preference was they would use the existing, wall signs like the others or existing signs, but they would not be opposed to what's being requested. So,
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
No, not staff, but the owner or the,
No? Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to talk for or against this proposal? The owner? No?
I think the sign representative is on the phone. Yep, there.
Yeah, I am on the phone now.
Okay, please state your name and your address, please.
Yeah, my name is Dan Deininger. I'm a production manager for Rapids Reproductions in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Okay, and what do you have to share with us?
No, I just, in case you guys had questions, I mean, it's, we're literally going to put 2 posts in the ground. There's no electricity to this sign. There is, no cement, so, I mean, literally, if they leave that tenant space, there will be no footprint left of their sign.
Dan, I have a couple of questions. This is John Beckman. So the sign is made of, if you will, a couple of wooden fence posts and some plywood, or what's the material?
Now, yeah, so it's an ACM material, which is an aluminum clad material. So it's aluminum on both sides and a plastic interior. So it's an all-weather sign. And then what we do is bury, I'm not sure how I'm going to bury 2 4x4s after the last few weeks or not, but that's the goal ultimately, is to put those in the ground, and then it's just a frame that sign is screwed onto.
Okay, and the sign will face north and south as opposed to east and west?
Correct. It'll face out towards that frontage road.
Okay. And you're not the owner of this business that's having this sign installed, correct?
I am not. I'm merely the sign installer, the designer of the sign. So,
And who is the
we
owner?
did a similar sign.
Who is
Excuse
the
me?
owner that's requesting this?
The person I deal with is Colleen Grote with Hardin Solutions.
Okay, just out of curiosity, do you know what this business does?
Their therapist office.
A therapist, okay.
Yeah, I can just add a little that. I did a little research on them today, figuring this question would come up. They are a therapist office. They're based out of Grundy Center. They have offices throughout eastern Iowa, so, and they just opened in September here in Waterloo.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I have, thanks.
Anyone else? Any further discussion? All right, may I have a motion regarding the request by Rapids Reproductions on the behalf of Heart and Solutions for a variance to the sign ordinance requiring only one post pole or monument sign to allow for a second post sign in addition to a monument sign at 227 East San Marnan Drive.
What she said.
Yes. I move what you just said.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the variance for an additional post sign at 227 East San Marnan Drive. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our third decision point for this evening is a request by Jason Vaughn for a variance to the accessory structure size limit to allow for an accessory structure of 884 square feet, 20 square feet more than the 864 square feet permitted, and a variance to the height requirement in conjunction with a single-story home to allow for a roof height of 16.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 15 feet allowed in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 109 Oak Ridge Road. So he's asking for two variances. All right, may I have staff report, please?
Mrs. Schneider with staff. The applicant is requesting a variance to build an accessory structure with a height of 16.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 15 feet allowed in conjunction with a single-story home, and a variance to exceed the accessory structure size limit by 20 square feet to build a 26-foot by 34-foot detached garage. The area in question has been zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district since the property was rezoned from U1 unclassified district on August 26, 1982. Surrounding land consists of single-family homes zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area as the applicant is requesting a variance to slightly exceed the maximums allowed. The section of the zoning ordinance that pertains to this request, Chapter 5, General Regulations 10.5.1E, Accessory Structures. Accessory structures that are not part of the main building shall not exceed 15 feet in height with a less than 2-story principal permitted use. Accessory structures shall not occupy more than 6% of the lot. The property is 14,400 square feet, which allows up to 864 square feet of detached accessory structures. The applicant is requesting to build a new 26-foot by 34-foot, 884 square foot detached garage with a height of 16.33 feet. The new garage will replace the existing 576 square foot garage. The proposed garage will be placed in approximately the same location as the existing garage. The proposed garage will meet the required side yard setback at 3 feet from the side property line. The proposed garage would occupy 6.14% of the lot, 0.14% more than the 6% allowed. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return as the applicant could build an accessory structure that would meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. There would appear to be a uniqueness to the request as the applicant will exceed the size limit by only 20 square feet and the applicant will exceed the height limit by less than 2 feet. Therefore, there will not be a significant impact on the area. The proposed structure would not appear to be out of character with the surrounding area. Approval of the variance would not have a negative impact on the surrounding area, and there has been no opposition to this request. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Jason Vaughn for a variance to the accessory structure size limit to allow for an accessory structure of 884 square feet, 20 feet more than the 864 square feet permitted, and a variance to the height requirement in conjunction with a single-story home to allow for a roof height of 16.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 15 feet allowed, in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 109 Oak Ridge Road be approved for the following reasons. There would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the applicant will exceed the size limit by only 20 square feet and the applicant will exceed the height limit by less than 2 feet. Therefore, there will not be a significant impact on the area. There would not appear to be a negative impact on the surrounding area as the proposed structure would not appear to be out of character with the area, and there has been no opposition to this request.
Any questions for staff?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this request? Anyone on Zoom? No, okay. So the chair will entertain a motion regarding the Jason Vaughn variance request.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request by Jason Vaughn for a variance to the accessory structure size limit to allow for an accessory structure of 884 square feet, 20 feet more than the 864 square feet permitted, and also move to approve his request for a variance to the height requirement in conjunction with a single-story home to allow for a roof height of 16.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 15 feet allowed in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 109 Oak Ridge Road for the following reasons. Number one, there would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the applicant will exceed the size limit by only 20 square feet and the applicant will exceed the height limit by less than 2 feet. Therefore, there will not be a significant impact on the area. Number two, there would not appear to be a negative impact on the surrounding area as the proposed structure would not appear to be out of character with the area. And number three, there has been no opposition to this request.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. How will he be notified?
Well, he works second shift, so Lexi will notify him tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right.
Apparently, we have to go through this whole thing, even though it's gonna be tabled.
Yes, right. Okay, so our decision request, number 4, is a request by Terry Phillips for a variance to an there's actually 3 variances. One, a variance to the accessory structure limit to allow for a 4,040 square foot accessory structure, 2,240 square feet more than the 1,800 square feet allowed. A variance to the accessory structure height limit to allow for a height of 19.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 18 feet allowed. And 3, a variance to the siding requirements to allow for vertical metal siding located in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 2203 Idaho Street. Staff report, please.
Yeah, the applicant's requesting a variance to allow for 4,040 square feet of accessory structures, 2,240 feet more than the 1,800 square feet allowed to the accessory structure height limit to allow for a height of 19.33 feet or 1.33 feet more than the 18 feet allowed, and a variance to the siding requirements to allow for vertical metal siding at 2203 Idaho Street. The property is located at 2203 Idaho Street and is zoned R2 1 and 2 family residence district and has been zoned as such since 1969. The request could have a negative impact on the neighborhood by allowing an oversized building that is out of character with the neighborhood. It would appear that the request would not have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. The request would not appear to be in, conformance with the classification of this area as low-density residential in the future land use map. The City of Waterloo Comprehensive Plan adopted August 21st, 2023. As the proposed building appears to be commercial in nature. The section of zoning ordinance that pertains to the request, Chapter 5 Regulations, 10.5E Accessory Structures. The applicant's requesting a variance to allow for 4,040 square feet of accessory structures, 2,240 square feet, more than the 1,800 square feet allowed, a variance to the accessory structure height limit to allow for a height of 19.33 feet, or 1.33 more than the 18 feet allowed, and a variance to the siding requirement to allow for vertical metal siding. Property in question is located at west of Idaho Street. There, in question is approximately 10.71 acres in size. Surrounding properties are primarily vacant, with single-family homes to the east, but vacant areas are shown as residential in the future land use map. For the criteria lack of reasonable return, there would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return. The property is used for residential purposes and can have 1,800 square feet of accessory structures. Uniqueness, there would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the existing parcel is 10.71 acres in size. However, the proposed building would appear out of character with the area and be more of a commercial type structure. Public considerations, approval of the variance could have a negative impact upon the surrounding area by potentially allowing other properties in the area to request similar variances. The entire surrounding area is zoned R2 1 and 2 family residence district. Therefore, staff recommends that the variance to the accessory structure limit to allow for 4,040 square feet of accessory structures, 2,240 square feet more than the 1,800 square feet allowed, a variance to the accessory structure height limit to allow for a height of 19.33 feet, 1.33 feet more than the 18 feet allowed, and a variance to the siding requirements to allow for vertical metal siding located in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 2203 Idaho Street be tabled for the following reasons. The applicant's requesting to have an accessory structure that's 2,240 larger than what is allowed in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district. The request could be out of character with the area. The structure would not comply with home occupation regulations if used as a home occupation, and for approval of the request could set a precedent for similar requests in the area. Staff report.
Thank you. Questions for staff?
Yes. Why are you recommending tabling? Is there information that you don't have? That you need?
Well, I guess the applicant wanted to move forward with the request. I indicated that it would be, we'd have to table it, or, deny it. I guess there isn't any, I think the applicant's here or said they were going to be here on the phone. So, I don't know, they can address any potential questions, but,
Well, I'm just thinking usually when you recommend it be tabled, it's because you're looking for some, or going to get some additional information. I
Right,
just
right.
wondered if that's the case here, what are we looking for?
Just starting off with staff. The reason we asked for tabling is because parts of this request cannot be, it's a commercial building essentially, used for commercial purposes, which exceeds the allowable for home occupation business, which is not something the Board of Adjustment can legally do a variance for. So part of it cannot, there is a question of that. So we also suggested looking at possibly rezoning the property. The applicant was, interested in doing that to try to, basically allow for it as a commercial use. So that's kind of why we asked for.
So you're.
yeah, but I spoke with the applicant. He indicated that it wouldn't be used for commercial use, though.
Yeah.
But, okay. But
So
you had a
you're-
different conversation than I had.
You're saying we table it and the Planning and Zoning Commission's gonna handle it then?
Not necessarily, it depends on what the applicant decides to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Is this?
Yeah, this is Anderson.
Yes.
This is Anderson with staff. I don't know, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
please.
Yeah, so kind of going in on that, we're obviously aware that the applicant is a business owner in the Waterloo community. There are 2 semi trucks parked on the site on the aerial. So we had some concerns with, turning the building as a larger building into a commercial building for a home occupation. Some of that would be allowed, some size limitations to that. So we just wanted to explore the options of that with the applicant to see if, one option may be that they would saying they would not use more than 1,800 square feet for the home occupation if they are going to use the building for the home occupation. The other avenue, if they are planning to do anything like that, it may be best to look at, the site for a rezone. It's over 10 acres in size, so it's a rather large site. The applicant's family also owns about 85 acres around there for potential development. So really kind of just taking a step back by tabling it, talking with the applicant a little bit more to maybe look at the long-range future for this area and what might be the best route to move ahead with.
Mr. Phillips, are you in the audience?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I was waiting.
Yes. So your name and address?
Yes, my name is Terry Phillips, and I live at 2203 Idaho Street. I'm a general contractor for the city of Waterloo. I worked for the city of Waterloo for the past 25 years on every street in Waterloo. My company name is DC Corporation, which you've probably seen my equipment around tearing up streets. Okay, so much for that. And thank you for having me here. You kept mentioning this is for commercial use. When you called me and asked me.
Oh, yeah, I know, I did indicate that.
And I verified, this is not commercial.
Yeah,
Okay, and
I did note that in the staff report, but I guess other folks, other staff members, they had concerns.
Okay, because the gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't remember, in the red shirt, had said, well, you'd have to do this and that, and he was understanding until you said it was commercial use. This is my own personal residence. The truck that you see, it looks like a semi, it is a camper. That whole setup is a large mobile home type camper deal that goes inside this building. It's been sitting out 2 doggone long, and it measures 70 plus feet. That's why the building is 8. I'd like to see one 125 feet, but pocket-wise, you can't afford it, and I don't need it that big, just big enough that I can back it in. And that's why the size is what it is, 40 by 80, I'm 700 feet, if you can see the drawing, I guess, from the Idaho Street, I'm over 700 feet off the roadway. There are no other houses except for a house that's right down at the bottom of my driveway at 700 feet, that lives here on that corner lot there and stuff. So, and I'm on approximately 11 acres, and I heard you mention 10.8. That is probably a lot closer, And so I'm back in toward the trees and stuff. I mean, there are other buildings, another building similar to this one that's probably 40 foot larger with metal siding and stuff, approximately 2 blocks from my address. Okay, now, it's not residential. I wouldn't call it commercial either because it's just sitting there and nobody's doing anything with it, The gentleman that owns that tried to sell it to me at one point, but it's not situated the right way. The railroad tracks are in the back. It's a small area getting in through the front. I would not be able to maneuver this 70 plus foot mobile home setup that you saw in the pictures and stuff into the spot, So that's why I'm proposing to build a building to house my mobile home, like you see a lot of places that have big motor homes packed into their buildings. So that's what it's for. It's not, I know you had asked me, someone that said something about a trucking business. No, it's not a trucking business. My construction yard is a mile away from there where I keep my equipment. The only thing you may see sitting there that looks like a construction deal, which you'd see right now, is a skid loader for plowing the driveway. That's 700 foot long, and it's only there during the winter months for plowing snow.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes, sir.
It sounds as though there's some confusion with your request, and the city has asked to table this so that they can clear anything up, so the the request is approved without problems,
Okay.
would you be agreeable to that, to table this for another month?
Another 2 months.
Just so that we don't want anything, we don't want anything to screw up your request.
Right, and I totally appreciate that, and I get it. Spahn and Rose is my contractor that's running the bill, and he calls me every day, are you ready, are you ready? I said, no, let's just wait so I can get the zoning. He's talked to someone else about the permit and all that stuff. Then the snow came.
Yeah.
Okay, so, can't blame it on that, but the snow, but we can push the snow off. We're actually ready to start getting the foundation and stuff done now, while I am off work, my company is closed for the winter months and stuff, We'll be going back out on Shawless Road by the casino where they built the roundy round. We've been doing a lot of work out there last fall.
I think it would be advantageous, and I know that this is kind of pushing it, but I think it would be advantageous to get back with the city and make sure that all the i's and t's are taken care of and everybody's on the same page so that this goes through without any problems.
Okay, well,
And I'm asking the staff now, would we be able to get this resolved by the February meeting?
There's no reason unless, Mr. Phillips talks to us. We work it out. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I'd be willing to do any talking you need right now.
I think it's going to take a
As
little
much as
more.
I like to talk.
I think it's going to take a little more conversation than what we have time for tonight.
And you're more than welcome to come out and you can, go through my big camper deal. And it's not a business, that somehow people got the impression because the truck looks like a semi cab, which is a semi looking cab, so if I didn't know any better, I'd say it's a semi, but.
I've actually seen it. You were on the historic homes tour, which I visited this year. So actually, I remember noting and seeing it out there.
Okay. Well, you're more than, any of you, more than welcome to come out and trump through the snow and get up in it. Let me know ahead of time. I'll turn the heat on and we can sit there and have a glass of lemonade or something,
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why aren't you in the south?
I'm going.
Snow caught you, did it?
I'm going. I'm supposed to be leaving here in 2 weeks. I'm going.
All right. Thank you. So the recommendation was that we table this request and that it'll be on our February agenda.
Okay.
And the date of the February meeting is
27th.
Yeah, the
27th.
February 27th.
27.
Zoom option if you're unable to be here in person.
Oh, I'll be here. That way I can answer any questions direct, I like to talk, no. But I would prefer being here if necessary, I don't think I need an attorney, and just for sake, the gentleman that was before me, Mr. Carter, they did contact me about, and I was listening to all this, and I said, please don't get me involved in it. Please don't. And she said, we even had him come out, I said, oh, Lord. But I was contacted by them to do some removal work or whatever. And I just told them that I just didn't have time. And it seemed like it was kind of a messy deal, and this was back in September or something. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't. I felt sorry for the guy. He's a hard-working man, very hardworking man, and I went to school with his wife, and stuff, so that tells you how old I am.
All right.
We'll see you in February.
So thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Do we have a motion?
Well, well, you can't do that, can you?
I will make a motion that we table action on this until our February meeting.
Yeah, second.
It's been moved and seconded that we table the request by Mr. Phillips for various variances until our February 2024 meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. Our fifth decision item is a request by Family Dollar Stores of Iowa for a variance to allow for a limited alcohol sales use off-premises consumption in the Broadway Alcohol Sales Overlay District in the C2 Commercial District located at 611 Broadway Street. Staff report, please.
This is Schneider with staff. The applicant is proposing to establish a limited alcohol sales use to sell beer and wine from their store located at 611 Broadway Street within an established alcohol sales use overlay district. The property is located at 611 Broadway Street. The site is currently zoned C2 Commercial District and has been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance. The surrounding area consists of single-family homes zoned M1 Light Industrial District and C2 Commercial District, and commercial properties zoned C2 Commercial District. The request could have a negative impact on the surrounding area. The intent of the alcohol sales use overlay districts is to avoid the concentration of alcohol sales uses in targeted areas of the city. Allowing this sales use would add to the concentration, continuing a pattern the overlay districts were put in place to stop and could set precedent for future requests. Section of the zoning ordinance that pertain to the request, Ordinance 5126, Chapter 24A, Alcohol Sales Use Overlay Districts D. The purpose and intent of alcohol sales use overlay districts is stated as to avoid undue concentration of certain alcohol sales uses in designated areas already populated by significant numbers of alcohol sales uses, to mitigate the secondary effects of certain alcohol sales uses, to preserve and protect neighborhoods from deterioration and loss of property value due to incompatible uses, and otherwise to promote the general purpose of the zoning ordinance. The city has 4 overlay districts located along Broadway Street, Logan Avenue, East 4th Street, and the Church Row neighborhood. The request is located in the Broadway Overlay District. Currently, the limited alcohol sales use of Quick Star at 707 Broadway Street is located 1 block to the north of the location in question. Quick Stop 4, located at 515 Broadway Street, is also located 1 block to the south of the proposed location and is classified as a limited alcohol sales use. Primark 5, which is a limited alcohol sales use, is located 1 block to the southeast of the site in question. There are currently 8 alcohol sales uses within the Broadway Overlay District. The zoning ordinance does allow for limited alcohol sales uses with off-premise consumption within the overlay districts if they are a grocery store with retail space over 10,000 square feet or a pharmacy. This particular building has approximately 6,740 square feet of floor area, 3,260 square feet short of meeting the 10,000 square foot requirement for a grocery store. The Family Dollar store in question was constructed in 2003 and has been running without selling alcohol for 20 years. On October 28, 2014, Dollar General at 820 West 5th Street was denied a variance to allow a limited alcohol sales use off-premise consumption in the Church Row Alcohol Sales Use Overlay District by the Board of Adjustment. There does not appear to be a lack of reasonable return. The applicants currently operate a store that does not sell alcohol and have been operating the store for 20 years. There does not appear to be uniqueness to the request, as the store is 6,740 square feet in size, which is 3,260 square feet less than what is required to allow for a grocery store with a limited alcohol sales use off-premise consumption within an overlay district. Approval of the request would appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood. This area is one of 4 targeted areas that have a high concentration of alcohol sales establishments, and the proposed use would add to the concentration. Approval of the request could set precedent for future requests. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Family Dollar Stores of Iowa for a variance to allow for a limited alcohol sales use off-premise consumption in the Broadway Alcohol Sales Overlay District in the C2 Commercial District located at 611 Broadway Street be denied for the following reasons. The request would appear to have a negative impact on the area. There would not appear to be any uniqueness to the request, and the request could set a precedent allowing similar uses to request to sell alcohol within an alcohol sales use overlay district.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
And one thing to note, I did not receive any calls on this request at all.
I'm sorry?
I did not receive any calls at all on this request.
Is there anyone who would like to speak for this request?
Anybody here?
Madam Chair, my name is Bob Hosak, and I'm the representative for the application. Is this a permissible time to address the board, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Rob Hosak. I'm a consultant for the company based in Atlanta, Georgia, called Decisions Consulting LLC. We're here on behalf of Family Dollar of Iowa LLC at 611 Broadway Street. I did want to take a moment to mention we do this all over the country on behalf of Family Dollar, and although we would have hoped for a different report, I did want to compliment Ms. Schneider. She's a great public servant. She's accessible. She provides good information, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure dealing with her. And I just wanted some folks to know that my presentation this evening will be brief. Kind of wanted to provide you and the board members with an overview of our internal store procedures, which we're hopeful will demonstrate the company's commitment to safe and responsible alcohol sales. Do believe that this overview might provide some demonstrable evidence of how we do comply with the city's criteria for variances. First and foremost, Family Dollar is really seeking this license not to compete with convenience stores or package stores, rather to become more of, let's say, a family grocery store. We're hoping that if the license were granted, while folks are doing their weekly family shopping, they may be able to pick up a 6-pack or a bottle of wine as opposed to having to go to a different store that might have a slightly different environment or not as much as of a family environment, let's say, than our stores do. Did want to mention, again, not trying to become a package or a retail store. We're actually very different. Family Dollar does not sell liquor, vaping products. We don't have placards advertising beer sales or beer caricatures through marketing. Family Dollar does not sell beer and wine at discount prices, does not sell high alcohol content beer and wine, does not sell singles, and unlike a lot of grocery stores, has a very, very small portion of the interior sales area that's dedicated to displaying beer and wine for sale. Usually we're at about 1% of the total floor area for displays. In this particular case, we might be a little less than 1%. Did want to also provide the board with some operational procedures that we believe highlight and kind of differentiate us from other alcohol outlets within the overlay. We have extensive video surveillance geared towards making sure that sales of alcohol are done responsibly, and really there's an emphasis on combating underage sales. We have a very good success rate nationally, normally less than 1.5% as far as violation rates go. We have a training program we believe is second to none that all of our associates must engage in. We've got handheld ID technology. We've got a internal program that utilize a mystery shopper component, and we have a zero tolerance policy. So we believe that these differences would help us meet some of the criteria as it relates to the variance that we were seeking. we would offer that we feel like there might be a lack of a reasonable return in our situation. As we move towards trying to be more of a family grocery store, we may be at a distinct disadvantage when compared to some of the other grocery stores that might have requisite square footage that's required in the ordinance. But if you were to look at the amount of floor space dedicated to the sales, I suspect that we're actually less than that, and our ratios would be less than that. Do you think that there is some uniqueness associated with our particular application and our situation? Although we are lacking in the requisite size, to the overall size of the store is probably much less than a normal grocery store. Some of the external efforts that we're using to combat underage sales, we believe are pretty unique. Video surveillance, no vaping or singles sales policy is very unique, as well as the prohibition of the placards. And then as it relates to public considerations, we did not have any public opposition. We are consistent with the city's stop plan. Anticipate any traffic impacts. Don't plan to introduce any additional traffic. And unlike some of the other sales outlets that might exist in the overlay, we are different in that we don't do singles or vapes, no placards. And then finally, as it relates to the precedent, very understandable, and I think Ms. Schneider was correct in expressing a concern to that. We actually think that if the license were approved, it would be the precedent in that there could be a new benchmark established, given the restrictions that we are willing to put in place and actually would stipulate to being part of any approval, should the Board of Adjustment see fit. And I appreciate your time and attention, and am happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hozak. Any questions for Mr. Hozak?
No.
No? No? Thank you. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
a real quick background for the board.
Okay, background from Mr. Beckman.
Several years ago, the police department was dealing with an onslaught of illegal underage liquor sales, as well as more serious incidents at bars that dispense alcohol. The public became enraged over all of this activity, and the community and the police department, along with the city, got together and crafted this ordinance, the city ordinance, the alcohol sales overlay district, to address these problems. It's been effective, not completely effective, but it's been effective. And in this particular case, the Broadway Street area is saturated, as you can see on page 49 of your packet. There's absolutely no room for another establishment, large or small, to go into this area.
Thank you for that background. Any other comments? May I have a motion about the Family Dollar Store's request for a variance?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to deny the request by Family Dollar Stores of Iowa for a variance to allow for a limited alcohol sales use off-premise consumption in the Broadway Alcohol Sales Overlay District in the C2 Commercial District located at 611 Broadway Street for the following reasons. Number one, the request would appear to have a negative impact on the area. Number two, there would not appear to be any uniqueness to the request. Number three, the request could set a precedent allowing similar uses to request to sell alcohol within an alcohol sales use overlay district. And number four, that area is presently saturated.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we deny this request. Any further discussion? All those in favor to deny the request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is denied.
I mean, the request is denied.
The request is denied.
The motion carried.
The motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right.
It's been a long meeting.
Appreciate that. All right, we're moving on to our decision item number 6. It's a request by Cedar Valley Catholic Schools for a special permit to install lights at Saltenic Field. Salenic, thank you. Field at Columbus High School in the R3 Multiple Residence District located at 3231 West 9th Street. Staff report.
This is Schneider with staff. The applicant is requesting to add 8 ball field lights at Salentic Field located at Columbus High School, ranging from 30 feet tall to 50 feet tall. The request could appear to have a negative impact on the area as the site is predominantly surrounded by residential uses. However, the Columbus High School football field, located approximately 500 feet to the west, has lighting for games played at night. Any negative impact could be mitigated by ensuring that the lights do not shine directly onto adjacent residential homes. The site is currently zoned R3 Multiple Residence District and has been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance. There will be 8 lights located along the perimeter of the field. The 4 lights in the infield near the foul lines will be 50 feet in height, and the 4 lights located on the outside of the fence near the outfield will be 30 feet in height. The poles will be galvanized steel with precast concrete bases. The zoning ordinance requires all accessory structures in conjunction with a non-residential principal permitted use in the R3 Multiple Residence District to be approved by a special permit. There is a provision for minor changes that can be administratively approved. However, staff determined that the request was not a minor change based on the potential impact of the lighting on adjacent residential homes. The Columbus High School football field currently has a similar overhead lighting for games at night. The new lighting at Salentic Field will enable the site to be used past daylight hours. The Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended to approve the request on January 9th, 2024. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Cedar Valley Catholic Schools for a special permit to install lights at Salentic Field at Columbus High School in the R3 Multiple Residence District located at 3231 West 9th Street be approved for the following reasons. It would appear the special permit would not have a negative impact on the surrounding area or pedestrian and traffic conditions in the area, and the request would be in conformance with the future land use map and comprehensive plan for the area.
Thank you. Did you say there were no objections on file?
That is correct. There are no objections.
Thank you.
And just a note real quick, special permits, courtesy letters are sent out to all property owners within 250 feet. And so that it was 250 feet of all property owners within 250 feet of the school. So there was quite a few property owners notified, and yes, we got no response from them, so.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for staff?
I have a question for you. Several years ago, when our kids were at West High School, the band boosters raised money and got the practice field along Easton Avenue lighted. And it seems to me at that time they couldn't have the lights on past 9:30. Is there any limitation to? I mean, I'm assuming they won't be running games until midnight, or they won't leave the lights on all night, but I'm just wondering if there was any limitation recommended?
There is no limitation recommended.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Sir, would you like to speak to this request? Come to the podium. You've been very patient.
Tom Novotny, 629 Alpine Drive. I'm the Chief Administrator for Cedar Valley Catholic Schools. I'm also the high school principal for Columbus High School. Just appreciate you taking the time to review our request for the special permit tonight. Obviously, I'm here because I'm in favor of the request. Certainly happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
You want to ask your question about the lighting?
Well, do you have any idea how late at night you'll have?
Well, you said lights not on till midnight.
Well, yeah.
So that's
right.
weather dependent and, all those kinds of things, but it's not our intention to leave them on any longer than the
But your
game
games
needs to
would
be
normally
finished.
be over by, what, 9:30, 10 o'clock?
Usually between 9 and 10.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Neville, this is a seasonal type of thing, correct?
Seasonal activity, absolutely.
Right. And there's no other activities that would take place on this field that would require lighting?
No,
Strictly baseball?
strictly baseball.
Once
We
the
use it as a
season-
practice field for football. That's during daylight hours. That's also seasonal, but we'd never use the lights for that.
Once the baseball season's over with, the lights are off.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. May I have a motion regarding the request for a variance for Cedar Valley Catholic Schools for special permit?
Yeah, I will as soon as I find
Find
the
the
motion
page.
here.
Page 56.
Sorry.
No,
No, it's not 56.
it's 60.
Yeah. All right, I will move to approve, oh, for Pete's sake. I'll move to approve the request for, for a special permit to install lights at Selenic Field at Columbus High School in the R3 Multiple Residence District located at 3231 West 9th Street for the following reasons. It would appear the special permit would not have a negative impact on the surrounding area or pedestrian and traffic conditions in the area, and the request would be in conformance with the future land use map and comprehensive plan for the area.
And this request is by the Cedar Valley Catholic Schools.
Oh, didn't I say that? No, I'm sorry. Yes, it is by Cedar Valley Catholic Schools.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet.
Holy cow.
All right. We finished our 6 decision items. Anything for discussion? Except welcome to you, Chris.
Thank you.
Just for general knowledge, I will not be here at next month's meeting. Just a heads up right now, that I will not be able to attend next month's meeting.
Okay.
So keep the agenda light.
I'll
If there's
do my
anything really controversial, push it to March.
Any other comments? All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We are adjourned. Time is